we go. Welcome everybody. This is Coach Art with egelloC. And thank you so much for our training tonight. We thank you so much for joining us. We're excited to be able to present to you a very interesting training. And we have done this before, but my partner in crime here, as my special guest. But we're going to be talking about navigating the recruitment funnel. And I am just so honored to welcome Bart Nason, who is part of USA Recruiting. He is been traveling around the country and the world with so many gigs for and watching so many kids out there with respect to their sports. And so happened to be able to get him at the right time. And so thanks everyone for joining. I am the reaction coach. So if you can do me a favor, everybody out there, if you can see the navigating the recruitment funnel slide presentation, if you could do me a favor and give me a heart out there, because if you can give me a heart, then I know everything is working fine. So I'll wait for the hearts and see if the hearts come along. If you could do me a favor and do that. Yes, okay, I see some hearts. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started here. First of all, I want to welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. What we're going to be talking about today is something that it is a bit specialized, but at the same time, a lot of families have asked about this, where they say, "Hey, my son or daughter is interested in possibly playing in college, and we really don't have any idea about how to navigate that recruitment funnel." So we're going to be talking about that today. We're going to be talking about what's new in recruiting. We're going to talk about the keys to the recruiting timeline. We can talk about keys to success, and then really kind of the next steps in your recruitment journey if you're interested. Okay. So, first of all, I'm going to do some introductions. Want to introduce myself. I am Coach Art, or I'm known as Coach Art. I'm the head of coaching and chief product officer for egelloC. Been initially 30 years in technology with a lot of Fortune 500 companies. But 20 years of my life I really spent as a sports and life coach to students and young professionals on the side as well. Because I had and really I've been about 8 years of college admissions and financial experience and expertise, and I've helped students get placed in top 20, top 50 schools all over the nation. But my biggest claim to fame, of course, is my three boys. My oldest, he graduated from UC Berkeley last year with a mechanical engineering degree. My middle son is going and taking his nursing degree at University of Illinois in Chicago, and my youngest son is at Biola University, and he is going for his physical therapy degree, but also playing college soccer, which is where I met this young man who is my special guest. So I'm going to turn it over to him and have him just introduce himself here.
Hi, Art. Thank you very much for the introduction. Always the best. Love working with Art. His knowledge and expertise in the college academic areas is second to none. For us, we work deeply with all student athletes across the country. I've been doing this for about 17 years, and one thing that we've built over our period of time is relationships with college coaches throughout the country. Our relationships, our credibility, everything that we're able to do has been able to open up doors for kids at all schools all over the country. For example, again, the Cal Berkeleys, the Ivies, the NASCACs, top academic programs, and obviously everywhere down the line. It's really important to understand, as a student athlete, the opportunities that are in front of you. And it's a little bit different for a student athlete than it is for a student, but both of them do start with the word student. Okay. And that means the better you do in school, the more doors you open up, the better you do in sports, the more opportunities you also open up. And as a student athlete, you have an advantage over a regular student if you're looking to play sports in college. We work in all sports. As I already indicated, that I've met him through the soccer part. And again, we're going to be here today, and hopefully talk about some of the things that you should be doing to give yourself a better opportunity to be successful in the college recruiting industry. Okay. It's a little bit tricky navigating this stuff. It's a little bit different than it used to be years ago, and it changes. And for us, it's important to know what those changes are so that we can help guide parents, as they go through the process. What we do is we compare ourselves to Waze, a navigation system, where if there's a dead end somewhere, we know how to turn and pivot to go somewhere else. And that's what we do with our kids. And that's the advice that we have for you as panelists, or not panelists tonight,
Mhm.
invitees tonight to our presentation. So thank you, Art, for the presentation. And Art, I'm also proud of my three kids. I got a daughter and two boys. My daughter went to University of Rhode Island. My son played soccer over at University of Michigan, and my youngest
Wow.
also played for a period of time at one of the universities in upstate New York. Anyway,
Awesome.
proud of my guys, and
Mhm.
I have a passion for what I do. I've been doing this a long time, and it's the greatest feeling in the world when kids commit to college, and I can help kids and families realize their dream. And that's what we at USA Recruiting do. So
That's amazing. Thank you so much, Bart. Again, I'm so honored that you're here with us tonight. I know that you kind of fit us in into your busy schedule, so thanks a lot. And I know we had a little bit of a late start, so we're gonna get going on here. Many of you, again, we're gonna be talking about the recruiting process, but I did want to bring up a little bit of what's new in recruiting, and also because we have the expert here, he can kind of chime in as well, Bart, about certain things that are going on in recruiting, just in within a year's time or so. So first of all, a bunch of things. You probably heard of the NIL, which is the name, image, and likeness, which really allows students to really take part in gaining, financial and also using their likeness to be used when it's being advertised out, especially because they're in the sports arena for their school. So before, what happened was there used to be a case where they couldn't really understand what those deals were prior to signing, but as of March of 2025, the NCAA has now permanently lifted that ban on being able to discuss or negotiate NIL, name, image, and likeness deals before the athletes enroll or sign. So, thanks to that settlement with several, the state's attorney general, I'll say this means that recruits can now enter the recruitment stage knowing what potential NIL earnings that they could possibly earn. And that kind of improves the transparency and the fairness within that whole system. Okay. Secondarily, as well, schools can directly pay athletes. So as of literally today, they call it direct compensation, which begins today. Based on a court settlement, NCAA Division One schools, okay, Power Five, and opted-in conferences can now pay athletes directly. Wow, up to 20.5 million annually per school. And so that is something that has, cleared the way today, just literally today. Another thing is that there are for roster and scholarship limit overhauls. So there is again what they mentioned starting today as well. Schools opting into the settlement can provide unlimited scholarships, but that is subject only to a roster cap structure instead of a prior sports specific limits, as well as designated athletes can be designated. Certain current athletes can be designated who won't count against their caps. Okay. So this affects how many new recruits they can take. So for those who possibly were hurt, and again, they won't take up necessary roster slot. They can be put on the side. And again, I don't know, Bart, if there's you probably know the more specifics about that. You could probably comment on that a little bit, right?
yeah, I think that, like as a whole, excuse me one second, my apologies.
Mhm.
As a whole, one thing that I would say is that as a student athlete, there's so many things to pay attention to. The most important things that I would tell a student athlete and their parents is pay attention to is do well in school, do well on at your sport on the field, and there'll always be a place for you. I believe there's a seat for everybody. It's just you have to navigate this thing. There are some schools that with new NIL money. They've created more opportunities in certain sports like football and basketball for student athletes, and that's where most of the money is going to go as far as
Hmm.
NIL money. Okay, if you're
Hmm.
playing other sports, I wouldn't really worry about it. It's going to be very minimal,
Right.
if at all. And if you're focused on that, you're focused on the wrong things. Okay, in my opinion. Okay, I think again, focus on your academics, be the best student you can, be the best athlete you can, and you'll find your way. As far as scholarships go, because of football, which is the big money sport for most universities. Okay, they're now expanding the amount of scholarships from like 85 to 110, and by doing that, they've now by offering that, they're now taking away scholarships from other sports because schools can't afford to just put everybody on a free ride over in the school. So as much as it sounds like, wow, this is great, everyone's going to get paid name and likeness, it doesn't work that way. And I use an example of kind of what goes on a little bit. And this past year, there was a situation where I'm not a big fan of. My son played at University of Michigan soccer, and you know, he for whatever it's worth, he received money from the University of Michigan to be an athlete. Okay, and that was good compensation. They paid for him to go to school. At the same time, would it be great to receive additional monies and NIL money? The answer is yes. But they take care of the kids in a certain way that he's got a great education and he comes out of that in a great spot with a great degree from a great university. Soccer money's not going to change that much where all of a sudden people are going to start getting tremendous amounts of money. Last year, there was a quarterback situation that played for UNLV. After the third game of the year, the guy was making, I think, in NIL money about $3.5 million. And then after the third game, they were 3-0. He went into the athletic department and he said, listen, I want to get $5.5 million or else I'm leaving the university. And you know what happened? They said no, and he transferred out. And that's not good for sports. It's not good for soccer. It's not good
Yeah.
for continuity for student athlete. It's part of the game. We understand it, but that's where the game has gone. And there's going to be a few people within the game that really make a lot of money through NIL money. Most of the other people
Mhm.
are not. So again, try not to get caught up in it. If you get a great quarterback, great basketball player, I understand it. But for most of the other things, don't get caught up too much in the NIL. That's just my advice. Okay, Art?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for that, Bart. I appreciate it. I know a lot of people out there are probably confused about that. So why don't we keep on going here? And I'm going to go through a little bit of the recruitment timeline here. And I know Bart, you can chime in as well. So this is those who are not familiar necessarily with how things start. But first of all, when we're talking about students, and we all are parents, we've been there. We start when they're wee little, little tykes. And so, but really, again, around the middle school to freshman year. So that's, sixth grade to about ninth grade. Really, all the things that the students can think about is first of all early preparation. That is again early preparation, not only athletically but also academically, and just getting the skills right, getting the skills up to make sure that you can play the game. Doing research and really getting exposure to the various schools, to the various even sports or so out there. And as Bart has said many, many times, academics matter. And I can't tell you enough how we're going to keep on repeating that tonight because schools really they look more for those students that are not just great athletes, but also great academics, that are great students. And Bart said it right, is that the emphasis is, on student athletes. Okay, and so it's really important that students take care of their academics at this time and throughout the time in their high school career. When we get to sophomore year, this is when you're honing in on skills development. And frankly, this is where probably and sometimes there's a initial contact prior to that, but you may get much more initial contact with respect to coaches or so. But remember, they can't really talk to you necessarily, and Bart probably knows this more about this, but they can't really necessarily talk to you until you're a junior officially. But you can contact them and make them aware of who you are and what you're doing or so. There's always camps and there's always showcases. If there's parents out there, you probably know, and I know I was a soccer dad and golf and basketball. There's so many camps throughout the United States, throughout the world, frankly, that you could join in, or that will give you exposure to college coaches. But then again, academic focus, we keep on going back to that, is just making sure that you take care of your academics and that you get the good grades and you're taking you know um, a rigorous schedule, to prove again to the universities that you can handle the college rigor. Okay. Now we're coming into junior year. Uh, Again, this is when it's active recruiting. Okay, you'll see a lot of the things step up because now the coaches have the ability and have the right to be able to reach out to you and to talk with you. A couple things here is we talk about is creating a highlight reel with updates, and I'm going to defer to Bart after I finish this one. Go to showcases and tournaments, evaluate your fit with where you fit within the college, the college sports atmosphere, and then even possibly, again, as early as scholarship offers may come if they're truly interested. Any more insights on that, Bart, with respect to junior? Because I know that's a very active time, right, for recruiting.
I just want to go back for a moment. You
Sure.
don't have to go back with slides or anything, but no, you don't have to
Okay.
go back.
Okay.
When you talk about your middle school, I think the important thing about middle school is to try to gauge as realistically as you can.
Hmm.
Is my kid a strong student? Does he need help to become, to do better in his aspiration to achieve, the ultimate, get into AP classes, get into honors classes, and I think that as far as the academics part is, you can see if your kid's meant for those type of programs, and those
Hmm.
programs will help you once you get into high school. Okay.
Right.
Athletically, it's about finding those right teams. When your kid's young, let them have fun, let them enjoy playing sports. Don't put too much pressure on them. And if you feel like
Right.
they love something, give them every opportunity to get better and better and better. Okay.
Hmm.
Um, just bear with me for 1 second here.
No
Hold on
problem.
one second. One of my people just missed a flight.
Okay. Well, while you're doing that, Bart, so a couple of things that I want to talk about here is, couple things. When you're there's a thing, an athletic profile. So you want to create and understand your profile, which includes stats, your achievements, your GPA, your test scores, relevant experience. Of course, I mentioned the highlight reel, developing a video showcasing skills, performance highlights, definitely game footage. Hopefully you have some type of online presence. I know that for my son, when he was there, he had created a YouTube channel and he had all of his videos on there so that one, he had a highlight reel, but what he did do as well is that he had his various games, his highlights, even his training sessions, so that they could see and really see how, if they wanted to, if they had the time and they wanted to take that time to see how he was with respect to his performance and how he did athletically. And then, of course, his academic achievements and all that. They could see that through his correspondence with them of how well of a student he's doing. When you're initiating contact with coaches, you want to send introductory emails. Include a very personalized message, your athletic resume, of course, a link to your highlight reel, and why you're interested, of course, in the program. So I'm curious, and I know, Bart, what about those initial contacts with coaches? What I know that for you guys work definitely with the families to customize that and or so, but what kind of key tips would you recommend when you're sending, the initial contact to coaches?
Well, I think, um, number one is you can start communicating with coaches at any point in time. For most
Hmm.
sports, coaches cannot start communicating with you until June 15th, going into your junior year. So
Right.
during at the end of your sophomore year in high school, coaches can start communicating directly with you. They could indirectly communicate with you by telling you to come to a camp, or that they can't
Hmm.
communicate with you. They're limited as far as communication goes, and that's in most sports. Okay, so I'm trying
Hmm.
to speak in volume. There are some sports that allow communication a little bit earlier, your sophomore year, but usually it's limited until that period of time.
Right.
But again, you as a student athlete have a right to communicate with the coach. You can you can write to the, hold on one second.
Yeah. So
Hold
you
on
could
one
write to
second.
the coach. Oops. And so when you're writing to the coach, I know that again, it's really really important and is to really maintain, you know, uh, regular communication with interested coaches, and that you want to make sure that you're responding really promptly to if they definitely respond to you, because that's very very important to show that you're interested, to show that that you're respecting their time, because a lot of times the big thing I know that we had experienced with respect to the whole recruiting process is that you want to make sure, if you want coaches to come and see you, remember they have this elaborate schedule that they've planned throughout the year or so. And so if you happen to have a game tomorrow or maybe even a week ahead and you just say, "Hey, I'm playing here, can you come watch me?" That's probably sometimes if they really, if they have a very strict schedule. And so what happens is that you really want to make sure that if you have games where you have coaches that are going to show up, you want to tell them as far ahead as possible so that they can, one, put you on the list, as well on their list to come look, to take a look and see, and they can fit you in, because again, it's very difficult for them to adjust because they just have such tight schedules. I'm sure, Bart, you're probably familiar with that, right?
Yeah, and by the way, everyone, I apologize. I have one of our staff people. They're connecting flight. They missed, and I'm
No
trying
problem.
to. I already had lined something else up to them just in case.
No
So
problem.
my apologies. Anyway, so here's the thing. Again, you can communicate. I apologize for losing focus here, guys.
That's okay.
You can communicate with coaches. Okay, coaches are looking for the best players that fit what their schools are looking for academically. Okay, so again,
Mhm.
looking for high academic schools, they're looking for the best athletes that meet that academic profile as well. Okay, communication with them, letting them know where you're going to be playing for tournaments, letting them know what your game schedule is during a year, letting them know what teams you're playing on are important things. All those things are important. Video is a little bit different. Okay, I think too many people put bad video out there and it takes them off the map for college coaches. Okay, and
Yeah.
you get one shot to do that right. And if you do it, you have more shots to do it right. But if you do it wrong, you're done. Okay. And I say that to you. We have 5 video people that work for us. I can tell you what goes on in all sports. And I can tell you that there are more people that do the wrong things and take themselves off the map. It's calling a coach the wrong name when you send an email. It's sending an email to dear coaches as opposed to specific
Hmm.
information about a coach. It's about your subject line, not providing enough information. Okay, like maybe if you have a 4.0 GPA, providing your GPA, providing what position you play, providing your jersey number, providing your team name. All of those things are important for a college coach to see. So if I'm working with a student athlete that's 6'5" or 6'8" and he's a basketball player, I'm putting in 6'8" right away. So the coach says, "Wow, there's a kid. Let's take a look at this kid. If he's got a 4.0, if it's an ACT score, of a 33 or 34 or 35, I'm putting them in. If it's an ACT score of an 18, I'm not putting it in. If it's a kid that's 5'8", I'm not putting it in. What we do is you need to learn how to market your son or daughter to their strengths. Okay. And those little things are very, very important because too many people are taking their kids off the map. They're putting YouTube channels like you suggested, Art, before.
Yeah.
They're putting YouTube channels with everything they do. Well, guess what?
Yeah.
There's not one kid out there that's a perfect athlete. Okay.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what it is. And the more stuff you put out there, the more imperfection you put out there. So to me, less is more. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of people having all these channels and putting 20 videos out and all their games out there, because all it takes is one coach to press the wrong game and all of a sudden you're done. And again, you
Mm,
don't want to do that. So you have the experts, people that understand what that's about, looking at that stuff to guide you. So when you do put stuff out there, it's stuff that coaches go, wow, who is this kid? I want to see him. And then you get yourself in front of that coach. That's what you want. Video is a tease. Video is just used so you can make sure you get a coach excited enough that he or she can come and watch you play, okay, or your son or daughter play. And that's my suggestions to those things. Okay,
excellent.
get out on the field, let them see you play. But again, that's what these things are for. Again, make sure coach's name, the school's name spelled the right way. If you're writing to a Johns Hopkins, it's not John Hopkins. Okay, it's
Hmm.
Johns Hopkins. Those things are very, very important because these coaches are looking to get in a million emails from kids that have a template that they put together. That's the same thing for everyone. And they go, dear coaches, me, I'm not a big fan of writing multiple coaches in an email. If you're writing two
Mm,
coaches from the same school, our what I believe in and what my company is all about is, hey, if we're going to write coach A and coach B, hey, we're going to write two different emails to both of them. More
mm,
in that case is better. Personalize things. Make sure the coaches know that you're just not a copy and paste guy. Because you know what? When they're sharing emails, or when the assistant coach is looking at the email you sent to the head coach and the assistant, and they're exactly the same, they know that you're doing that everywhere. Okay.
yep. Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
really, really important. Okay. And junior year is, between sophomore and junior year is a great opportunity to get out on fields, no matter what sport you're in, and let the coaches see you. Figure out which schools you think would be interested in your kid to play sports. Focus on those type of schools. Be realistic as best as you can. As parents, we always want the best for our kid. Don't get caught up in names. Don't get caught up in schools that are close to your home. These are all
Hmm.
suggestions to help you be successful as you go through the recruiting process.
Sure,
It's not a
sure.
rule, it's a suggestion. They're strong suggestions from experience, from placing almost 8,000 kids in college in 17 years. So when we look at those things, we look at, what are the pitfalls in college recruiting? Getting stuck in names. I mean, everyone wants to have that big sweatshirt that says Duke or North Carolina or Michigan or UCLA or whatever school it might be. But there's great schools out there and great things. My parents taught me great things sometimes come in little packages. So again,
Hmm.
whether they be educational, maybe like like a Williams or a Bowdoin or University of Chicago, or just because they're D3 schools don't mean they're not fantastic schools where your kid's going to be successful for the rest of their lives. Okay, so again, that's just some suggestions that I would make to everyone that's here watching us talk tonight.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that, Bart. Gosh, that's, I mean, wealth of information. I'm telling you guys, we got the goat here, the expert. Just to kind of wrap it up, just for the timeline here, senior year, of course, it's finalized recruiting, official visits to the campuses. Normally is allowed in senior year for most sports. You continue conversations with the coach to assess your mutual interest. You have signing periods where, you're signing uh the letters during appropriate signing periods, an offer of a scholarship. You have final eligibility steps. You have to complete with the NCAA or the NAIA eligibility requirements, and really just and submit your necessary transcripts. And then, of course, transition, where you engage in pre-college training, maintain communication with your future coach and your teammates. All of that is really, really exciting during your senior year, because again, you're finally, all of the hard work that you have is culminating to this point, right? So important considerations, and I know that we're coming out of time, but we're gonna be here. So hopefully, Bart, you got some time here too as well.
Yeah,
Um,
I just want to add one thing in there.
sure, sure, of course.
There's a statistic out there, and I find it to be true. 80% of student athletes don't commit to college until after May 1st of their senior year.
Mm, that's a really good. That's
Okay. And if that throws you off for a loop, let me explain it. Okay. You don't have to commit to college until May 1st. Every kid's, or almost every kid's
right.
applying to multiple schools. They're waiting to
Yes.
see which one they get in. And if they get in, they have two offers from two schools, they might take one of them and not the other. And they're waiting and waiting and waiting. And some of them don't know until May 1st. A lot of athletes aren't committed because they don't even know where they're going to go come May 1st, because they're still in their spring seasons looking for opportunities to play places. The coaches haven't made their mind up. It's a, it's a, it's like recruiting is a process. Applying to school is different. When you're working with
Hmm.
Art and his focus on education, his job is to, I'm not going to say what his job is, but he's going to be there. He's going to be there to assist you and help you get into the colleges that you aspire to play it to go to. Our job is on the sports end to help you connect the sports with that college.
Hmm.
If Art and in his business does his job, he's going to prepare you so that you get into whatever those schools are that you're looking for. From an athletic standpoint, it doesn't mean all those schools are going to want you as a player for their university. So our job is to continue to work while they try to figure out who they're going to add to their rosters. Okay. And it's, there's an academic part, there's an athletic part, and there's a combination over here. And it's tricky. And that's why 80% of student athletes don't commit till between May 1st and July 31st of their senior year.
There you go. Thank you so much. That, gosh, again, another golden nugget there. So when we're thinking about important considerations, first of all, and Bart had mentioned this already. Each sport has specific rules and dates for contact periods, evaluation periods, dead periods or so. So it's really important that for your specific sport, you're aware of those. Be aware of these calendars to really maximize opportunities for exposure and communication. For some sports, like even like football and basketball, recruiting may start even earlier, okay, due to the high level of competition. Student athletes should really actively drive the process by reaching out to coaches, attending events, staying organized, and always prioritize, again, we always say this, academics, because that is essential for eligibility, and long-term success. Now, when you're looking at the kind of the mind shift, okay, that makes this mind shift of yours really makes all the difference. Because if we talk about, like, for example, one mind shift or one thought of is, if I'm good enough, they'll find me. Well, actually, no. It's really, I need to get in front of them, okay? So because many athletes assume that talent alone will attract recruiters, and that's not true. In reality, even top athletes must proactively market themselves to coaches through emails, the videos, camps, showcase participation. And I know that Bart is definitely agreeing with that, because again, you could be the best person, but if you don't market yourself right, they're not going to see you. Okay, they have so many people they got to see, and so many individuals that they're trying to attract. Another one is, I want to play D1. Well, no, no, no. I want to find the best fit. And coach and Bart definitely mentioned that, D1, uh the D1 dream is common but often limiting, because success can come with athletes expanding their view to include D2, D3, NAIA, and JUCO options, which is the junior college route, where they might thrive academically and athletically and personally. And with the whole transfer system, they could do really well in the lower and then move up. Okay, so that's another option. And then lastly, a mindset of, recruiting is about performance, and really, no, recruiting is about visibility and fit. And a great stat line isn't really enough. Okay, coaches also look for attitude. They look for coachability and how you're going to impact the team culture. Character is really often closes the deal. And I'm going to turn that over to Bart, because I'm sure he has a lot of comments on this. But do you agree, Bart, on what I'm talking here?
Yeah, 100%. I think that, those are reasons why people aren't successful. Stay
Hmm.
open-minded in your recruiting process.
Absolutely.
I think it's really important. That addresses the second thing here. Get in front of the coaches. Let them see you. It's not who you know. Like, it's not like I know that school and this school and that school and this school. Make sure the
Right.
coaches know you and make sure they want you. Let them know that you want to play there. get in front of them, go watch them play, let them know that you're coming to watch them play. And then, again, there are a lot of factors involved, sportsmanship, the families, where you live, where you're from,
Hmm.
the type of school you go to, again, student athletes that are pushing themselves. Like if you want to go to a school like MIT, they're not looking for a good student. They're looking for kids that can change the world. Okay.
Correct.
So when we talk
Yeah.
about changing the world, they're looking for kids that if they offer algebra 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and you're not taking 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in high school, they don't want you at MIT. Okay.
Right.
They want you to strive to be the best in everything that you do. And that's what they look for. Okay. So again, understanding that again, you have to go out there. This isn't something you should be stressed about. It's just something that you should understand. Okay.
Hmm.
And I think
Hmm.
understanding it and stressing are two different things. There's a lot of anxiety because for most of you, assuming that you're all parents that are watching this right now, for most of you, the most important thing is your kids in your life, which is what it should be. So you want the best for your kids. And that's why you're sitting here speaking with us and listening to
Hmm.
Coach Art and Coach Bart. We rhyme, by the way,
Hmm.
Art and Bart. And
Yeah.
and frankly, you're sitting here because you are here probably because you want to give your kid every opportunity to be
Yep.
successful in life. Okay.
Yeah.
I get it. I'm a parent. Art gets it. He's a parent. You guys get it. You guys are parents. And for some of you going through this the first time. So again, these are some great suggestions, some pitfalls to pay attention to. Don't ever think your kid's good enough. Just keep working to be the best you can. I always
Absolutely.
told my kids when I raised them, I said, guys, you be the best that you can be. If you're not an A+ student, you're not an A+ student. If you're a B+ student, that's what you are. As long as you give 100% effort. And I leave you with this comment, and I'm not leaving this setting right now as a panelist, but I go, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. In everything we do, we
That's
believe in
right.
hard work. In everything the message you should send to your kids is work hard and you will be successful in everything you do. Okay. Again, hard work beats talent.
I love it. I love it. Amazing. I mean, again, amazing words. Um, a couple of, strategic tips here really quickly. We're almost done here. I know that we're past time, but we will leave some time for questions as well. So please, hopefully you can stay on. If you can give me, if you got, can you guys give me give us like maybe 10 more minutes? If you can, please give me a heart reaction because we got, again, we got the goat here that has so much information for us. So thank you. Okay, thank you so much. That'd be great. So really, again, strategy wise, build a target list of schools based on fit, not just brand. Okay. So you want to create that list of schools, in tiers and think about location, academics, their playing style, their roster needs, potential scholarships. Most overlooked athletes only chase about 5 to 10 name brands programs when again, it's really more important about fit and because again, you may be a college athlete, but if something happens where you're no longer a college athlete, are you going to be happy being at that school because it doesn't necessarily fit you? So it's really important. Again, build your target list on fit, not just brand. Personalize your outreach. And again, Coach Bart, he talked about it. Coaches can definitely spot a generic email instantly. So you got to definitely personalize your message and all of the amazing advice that Coach Bart provided to us as well. And your video, you got to optimize it. Again, Coach Bart talked about, it's really you want to make sure that your videos are, in the best quality, in shape that they can be, because it really is the case. How they say you only have one time to make the best or first impression. Well, that's very true with a video as well, is that you want to make the best impression with the quality videos and make sure you're tracking your communications, and make sure that you have a spreadsheet and you're making sure that again you track the coaches that you contacted and the replies and the follow-up dates and you got to treat this like it's a job hunt. It's your and your first real campaign and you want to take this seriously. You don't want to let emails go without being answered to or answered in professionally. Okay. Now, here are some, again, what no one tells you, but you need to know. Okay. Coaches recruit based on gaps in their roster, not just talent. Okay. A school might not need another point guard or outside hitter, no matter how talented you are, because they always research a team's current depth chart and find out what their kind of the commitments are. But they'll also look for talent, but not they'll also need to try to fill the gaps. Um, Remember, you're being watched off the field as well. And what I mean by that again is coaches are following, they're looking at your byline, they're looking at how you interact with your parents at games and your fellow teammates. You got to be consistent, you got to be mature, you got to be authentic, online and in real life. Recruiters recruited doesn't mean offered, okay? Just because you're talking with a coach, it doesn't mean you're guaranteed a spot, okay? Real recruiting begins when there's clear communication about an offer, about roster spots, about visits. So don't assume, ask direct questions. Your junior year is critical but your sophomore year is a setup. So coaches, they start tracking early. If you wait until, junior year to get serious, you may be behind, but again, start building your brand, outreach plans, around, as we mentioned, 10th grade. And admissions still matter. And Coach Bart definitely mentioned this. Okay, a coach may love you, but if you are not academically admissible, it's done. It's over. That's it. They don't want to have a student that is not good in good doesn't have good grades or is going to struggle in class, because if that's the case and they become academically ineligible, you're not playing. As well as they want to be able to see is that if you are really good academically, you might be able to get even academic scholarships on top of athletic scholarships. So that's another thing, right? Okay, so
Art,
really,
and
yes, go
Art, if
ahead.
I can,
Yes,
I'd like to add something in.
sure, please.
The culture in college sports has changed a lot. It's um, I don't really love it. I got to deal with it all the time. It's just part of what goes on.
Yeah.
Um, there's the transfer portal, okay, and
Yep.
when we look at the transfer portal, kids that aren't playing for the most part are always looking to leave and go somewhere else. Kids that are um, at a school where it's maybe not a strong school as they would hope to play in, like it's not that big name school that do well.
Hmm.
They're looking to transfer. So in our business where I am and what we see on a day-to-day basis is we see opportunities for student athletes all the time. Kids that work with us, we pay attention. We speak to every coach in the country. We know what's going on. We know when they're losing players. We know when they're gaining
Hmm.
players. We know when guys are transferring to them, from them. And what happens is because of that, as Art alluded to in one of the slide topics over there, it said that we look for what schools are looking for in a position. So, for
Correct.
example, if it's a point guard, if it's a goalkeeper in soccer, or if it's a kicker in football, um, just
Yeah.
one more second. Yeah, that's where we. Give me 1 second. What happens is it's important to know that so that you don't start chasing everything where there are dead ends everywhere you go. And there are a lot of dead ends there. I'll give you an example. For example, if you're a soccer person and you're looking to play soccer at Notre Dame University and you're in the graduation year of 2026, they have a lot of camps coming up, but they're done recruiting for 2026. Okay. So if
Mm.
you have a soccer player that's interested in playing men's soccer over there and you're going to go to their ID camps, you're probably not walking away with a good, thing at the end of the day. That's all. Okay. That's it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, thanks. That's again great advice. Really, just our last, kind of what are kind of some key things. First of all, at the top of the list, we always say excel academically. That's just a given. You have to do well academically, develop those athletic skills, understand the recruiting rules. That's so important. That's where, again, a valued partner like USA Recruiting can help because they're familiar with the recruiting rules. Create an impressive athletic profile, research and target, the right programs that are right for you, not just brands, but right for you. Proactively communicate with coaches, attend camps, showcases, and tournaments. Utilize your high school and your club coaches, to help you as well, because they can be a key resource as well. always demonstrate character and leadership, because that's what, the coaches are looking for, not just a great athlete, but someone that has great character and leadership and can be an example for their fellow teammates and for the school, frankly. And lastly, stay persistent and resilient. This is not a sprint. This is a marathon of sorts, in which you have to invest the time, like I said, like a job hunt, in which you are constantly communicating, staying on top of communication, staying on top of all the deliverables, making sure you're doing the right thing academically, activities wise, making sure you do the right thing with respect to your college applications as well. Okay, so that all fits within what we provide, and then of course on the sports side, from what Coach Bart also provides. So with that said, we want to open it up for questions just really quickly. But if a couple two things, if you know me, we've been doing this for so long. If you are looking for a free 15-minute assessment for college admissions, please, type the word book, BOOK, at 949-775-0865. Or if you're looking for college recruiting consultation with, again, Coach Bart here, Bart at usarecruiting.com, 631-388-2350. Okay. So with that said, I'm going to open this up. If you have any questions, and again, I know that there was so much information here, that we kind of poured on you. You might be overwhelmed. But does anybody have any questions? I know that we have a lot of our participants tonight, and thank you so much for joining us. We're just so appreciative that you're here. Does anybody have any questions at all? I wonder if they're shy here, Coach Bart. Anybody have any questions? Okay, maybe it's because we've gone a little bit long. So,
And if,
um,
if anyone has any questions, contact Art directly or contact me directly.
sure.
Um, we're here to answer your questions, whether they be, on this, at this presentation tonight,
Yeah.
or whether you'd like to do that privately, that's fine.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So again, if you are interested in a 15-minute assessment for a college admissions advisor, which is our expertise at egelloC, type the word book, BOOK, at 949-775-0865. And if you're looking for college recruiting consultation with Bart Nason here, Bart at usarecruiting.com, 631-388-2350. So with that said, I first of all want to thank my special guest, Bart Nason, who is again a wealth of knowledge. I always love it when he comes along and does these presentations, because again, I learn something every single time that he's here. Secondarily, as well, thank you so much for attending. I know that with all your busy schedules, you can go out with your friends, your family, or do something really interesting, but you choose to be with us, and that we're so very grateful for that. So thank you so much for joining our training tonight. And well, I'm here every Tuesday at 6 p.m. doing training. So again, join us next time, and good luck, especially if you have daughters and sons that are interested in college sports and college recruiting. So have a wonderful evening, and we'll talk to you later. Thanks a lot, everyone. Have
Art,
a
thank you very
wonderful,
much.
wonderful. Thank you, Bart. Appreciate it. Have a good one. Bye bye.
Bye, everyone.